When things fall apart, most people don't just question the situation, they start questioning themselves. They say the business failed, so maybe I'm not cut out for this. The relationship ended, so maybe I'm not lovable. The opportunity slipped through, so maybe I don't have what it takes. But that's the lie, that's the trap. You've confused the outcome with your identity. You've started believing that just because the plan didn't work, you don't work. Just because it didn't go right, you're not right. But let me tell you something. Your value doesn't disappear just because the strategy failed. Your worth isn't based on your last win. It's not based on your last loss either. You were valuable before the goal, during the grind, and after the fall. Nothing about that changes unless you let it. See, life will test you. It will knock the wind out of you. It will flip your plans upside down. And in those moments, it'll whisper to you, see, you're not good enough. You should have known better. You don't belong here. But that's not the voice of truth. That's the voice of fear. That's the voice of insecurity. And if you listen to it long enough, you'll start shrinking to fit the failures instead of standing in your full capacity. You'll stop dreaming. You'll stop moving. You'll start accepting the average life when you were built for greatness. But that voice, it's lying to you. You've got to separate what happened to you from what's still possible through you. A broken moment doesn't mean a broken identity. A detour doesn't mean denial. It just means that path wasn't it. But you are still it. You're still capable. You're still powerful. You still have everything you need inside of you. The problem is, we've been trained to measure our worth by results. Win the game, you're valuable. Land the deal, you're worth something. Get picked, get paid, get praised now you can believe in yourself. But what happens when the applause stops? What happens when nobody's watching? That's when the truth shows up. That's when the real foundation reveals itself. If you only believe in yourself when things are going right, that's not belief, that's convenience. Belief means even if the business fails, even if the door shuts. Even if they say no, even if the whole world doubts me, I don't doubt me. You've got to look in the mirror and remind yourself who you are before the world does. You've got to talk to yourself like a champion even when the scoreboard doesn't agree. Because belief isn't about what you see, it's about what you decide. And if you only base that decision on circumstances, you'll always be a slave to whatever happens around you. Your belief has to come from within. It has to be unshakable, unmovable, untouchable. That means you keep showing up even after you lost. That means you still train when nobody's watching. That means you still write, still build, still dream even when you don't feel inspired. That means you give yourself the same respect when you're failing as you do when you're winning. The truth is, the fall doesn't define you, the fight does, and belief is the fuel that powers that fight. It's not optional, it's not a luxury, it's the difference between those who stay down and those who get back up. Every person you admire didn't win because they never failed. They won because they never stopped believing in themselves after they failed. And that's the mindset you need. That's the fire you've got to carry. Not the belief that you'll never fall, but the belief that no matter how many times you fall, you're still worth rising again. Pain doesn't mean you're losing. Pain doesn't mean you're broken. Pain is the signal that something inside you is waking up, stretching, growing, expanding beyond what it used to be. But the problem is, most people experience pain and immediately think something's wrong. They feel pressure and start looking for an escape. They feel resistance and start backing off. But let me tell you something, growth never happens in comfort. You don't become great in easy seasons. You don't develop power when everything's going your way. You develop when the storm hits and you choose not to fold. You grow when the plan falls apart and you show up anyway. You evolve when it hurts and you keep pushing anyway. Pain isn't a sign to quit. It's a sign to dig deeper. It's proof that you're in the right place, not the wrong one. People want strength, but they don't want the process that creates it. They want the muscle without the weight. They want the wisdom without the mistake. They want the character without the breaking. But pain is the price. You don't get strong just by showing up. You get strong by showing up broken and refusing to quit. You get strong by walking through things that should have taken you out but didn't. And the reason they didn't isn't because life gave you a pass. It's because you chose to keep going. You made a decision in the middle of the pain that said, I'm not done. I'm not finished. This will not be the end of me. That's what turns ordinary people into giants. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. If you only believe in yourself when it feels good, you'll never make it. Because every level requires a new version of you. And that version won't be born in the celebration. It'll be born in the pain. When everything inside of you wants to quit. When you're tired. When you're misunderstood. When it feels like nobody sees the fight you're in. That's the birthplace of power. That's where the belief becomes real. It's easy to say you believe when there's no resistance. It's easy to post quotes and hype yourself up when the sun is shining and everything's clicking. But when it's dark, when it's heavy, when the pressure feels like it's crushing your chest, that's when belief counts. That's when it becomes more than motivation. That's when it becomes a choice. You've got to decide, will I allow pain to define me, or will I allow it to refine me? Will I back down at the first sign of resistance, or will I lean in and learn what I was put here to learn? Because every time you push through the pain, you grow. Every time you refuse to quit, you rise. Every time you look fear in the face and take the next step anyway, you build something inside of you that can't be shaken. That's not just strength, that's transformation. That's legacy being born. That's the version of you the world needs, the one forged through fire, not comfort. The one who doesn't just survive the storm, but becomes the storm. And it all starts with the choice to believe, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. The doors that closed didn't break you, they built you. The people who said no, the opportunities that slipped away, the moments that shattered your plans, they weren't the end. They were a setup, they were a redirection, they were life saying, you're not supposed to go there because there's something better waiting down this road. But you couldn't see it then. You were too focused on what you lost. You were too hurt by who walked away. You were too distracted by what didn't work out. And that's normal, that's human. But what you've got to realize is this. Every rejection is a message. It's not a verdict, it's guidance. It's not failure, it's alignment. And if you let it grow you instead of destroy you, you'll come out stronger, clearer, and more powerful than you've ever been. The problem is, most people take rejection personal. They start believing the no wasn't just about the opportunity, it was about them. They start shrinking their dreams, lowering their standards, second guessing their ability, all because someone didn't pick them. But let me ask you something. If your worth can be shaken by one no, was it ever grounded in the right place to begin with? You were never supposed to be defined by who accepts you. You're supposed to be defined by who you decide to become. Your belief can't be tied to applause. It can't be tied to validation. It has to be rooted in identity and purpose in the mission that doesn't stop just because the door didn't open. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs you'll ever experience come right after the breakdown. But only if you keep walking, only if you keep believing. The mistake most people make is that they stop. They sit down in the pain. They build a home in the disappointment. But you've got to move. You've got to keep stepping, even when your pride is bruised, even when your confidence is shaken, even when you don't know what's next. Because the next opportunity, the one that fits, the one that changes everything, it's ahead of you, not behind. And you'll miss it if you let rejection keep you frozen. Every legend, every success story, every leader you admire, they were told no. They were laughed at, ignored, counted out, and they didn't let it stop them. They let it sharpen them. They let it push them harder. They let it become fuel. You've got to do the same. You've got to reframe the no. It's not a stop sign, it's a detour. It's not rejection, it's redirection. And if you trust the process, if you stay focused on what you're becoming instead of what you lost, that closed door won't just make you better, it'll launch you to where you were meant to go. Because not everything denied you was meant to be yours. Some things didn't work out because they would have slowed you down. Some relationships ended because they couldn't carry your future. Some stages rejected you because you weren't supposed to be seen, yet you were still being prepared. So don't fight the redirection. Embrace it. Trust it. Use it. Because the path you're meant to walk isn't built on who accepted you. It's built on who you decided to become when nobody did. Motivation fades. Hype dies. The excitement you had at the beginning, that fire in your chest when you first dreamed it, it doesn't stay forever. It gets tested. It gets attacked. Life comes in with delays, distractions, disappointments, and suddenly that energy you started with starts to drain. That's why you can't depend on motivation alone, because motivation is a feeling and feelings lie. Feelings tell you it's too hard. Feelings tell you it's not worth it. Feelings tell you to quit, but belief is different. Belief is steady. Belief is the fuel that kicks in after the hype is gone. It's what keeps you moving when you've got every reason to stop. It's what holds you up when the results don't show up. It's what tells you, I don't need to see it yet to keep working like it's coming. See, most people treat belief like it's optional. They think it's something you use when everything's going right. But belief is for the storm. Belief is for the lonely nights. Belief is for the months where you feel invisible, unheard, unappreciated, but you still grind. Because deep down, there's a voice inside you that says, I'm still that one. I'm still built for this. That voice is belief. That voice doesn't come from applause. It doesn't come from validation. It doesn't come from likes or followers or money in the bank. It comes from within. It comes from conviction. It comes from identity. It's that anchor that holds you when everything around you is shaking. You've got to build your life on that kind of belief, the kind that doesn't need permission, the kind that doesn't need to be seen to be real, the kind that trains in silence and still shows up when nobody's clapping. Because if you don't believe in you, who will? If you don't speak life into your vision, who will? If you don't get up and show up even when your body's tired, your heart's heavy, and your mind is doubting who will do it for you, you can't outsource belief. You can't borrow it. You can't wait for someone to hand it to you. You've got to dig it out of the dirt when life knocks you down. You've got to stare at the setback and say, this doesn't change who I am. You've got to speak over your life even when the situation is screaming the opposite. Because belief isn't just some mind set. It's the difference between quitting and finishing. It's the difference between breaking down and breaking through. It's what separates the ones who almost made it from the ones who actually did. And belief doesn't mean you never doubt. It means you keep moving anyway. It means you trust the work, trust the process, trust the vision, even when your current reality hasn't caught up yet. You show up to the gym when you're sore. You show up to the business when the profits are down. You show up to your goals when the motivation is gone, and you move like it's still day one. That's belief. That's grit. That's how greatness is built, not in the light, but in the dark. Not when you feel like it, but when you don't and you still show up anyway. Nobody else is going to be the one to ignite that fierce confidence inside you. When you look in the mirror and see doubt staring back, remember that the only person who can truly believe in you is you. Too many people rely on external validation, on the nod, the applause, or even a friendly word to measure their worth. But if you wait for someone else to light that spark inside, you may find yourself standing in the dark, wondering why you're not moving forward. You have to be your own fire starter, your own cheerleader, and your own guiding light when all the noise around you fades into silence. Your journey isn't defined by who lifts you up, but by who you decide to lift up when the path gets steep. When you're drowning in setbacks and the world around you is whispering that you're not enough, that's when you need to lean in closer to your own truth. No one can carry that burden of belief for you. Because belief isn't something that can be transferred like a package. It has to be built from the raw materials of your struggles, your failures, and your relentless pursuit of a better tomorrow. There will be times when the voices of critics are so loud that they seem to drown out your inner voice. In those moments, the key is to remember that those voices don't know your story. They don't understand the sacrifices you've made, the nights you've spent burning the midnight oil, or the relentless determination that surges through you even in the toughest of times. You must dig deep into that well of inner strength and pull out every last ounce of grit. Belief is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's what propels you through the long, hard days when nothing seems to work out, when every door slams in your face, and every opportunity feels like a distant dream. In those moments, you need to be your own catalyst. You have to stand firm and declare that your worth isn't diminished by external setbacks. You must understand that self-belief isn't about being arrogant or thinking you're infallible. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, you have the power to rise again. That power comes from acknowledging your failures, learning from them, and using them as stepping stones toward a higher version of yourself. The process isn't glamorous. It isn't punctuated with constant praise or smooth victories. It's a daily grind, a battle between the fear that wants to keep you small and the potential that urges you to be more. And in this battle, you are the only one who can decide which side wins. When you choose to believe in yourself, you start to see that every setback is merely a setup for a comeback. Every morning, as you face a new challenge, remind yourself that you are the author of your destiny. No one else holds that pen. When the world pushes you to the edge, it's your unwavering belief in who you are that will pull you back. You become the anchor in the swirling storms of doubt and uncertainty, the steady force that doesn't waver when temptation to give up creeps in. No matter how many times you fall, if you commit to rising each time with renewed determination, you are proving to yourself that you are worth every single struggle. The responsibility of believing in yourself is not a burden. It is the greatest act of self, love, and power you can ever offer. And in the long, dark corridors of adversity, that belief is the spark that transforms the impossible into the possible, the fleeting moment of despair into a lifelong journey of resilience and unstoppable growth. When everything is falling apart and nobody is watching, that's when the real ones are made. That's when the spotlight is gone, the applause has stopped, the cameras are off, and it's just you and the grind. And in that quiet space, that pressure, that darkness, that's where winners are born. Not on the stage, not in front of the crowd, but in the shadows. While everyone else is looking for recognition, you're building in silence. While everybody else is chasing validation, you're stacking discipline, brick by brick. The world wants results, but greatness doesn't start with results, it starts with repetition. With doing the work when no one's clapping, with showing up when it's not exciting anymore, with believing in something even when it doesn't feel like it's working yet. It's easy to look like a champion when everything's clicking, when the money's flowing, when the followers are growing, when every move gets praise. But what about when the lights go out? What about when the results stall? What about when the thing you've been building falls apart right in front of you? That's when the pretenders quit. That's when the ones who only wanted the spotlight walk away, but the ones who are built different. They keep going because they understand something most people miss. The process is the prize. The pressure is the privilege. The valley is not the place where you lose, it's the place where you're refined. Most people want to skip the dark seasons. They want the reward without the test, the crown without the cross, the win without the wounds. But there is no elevation without struggle. You don't level up by avoiding resistance, you grow through it. The dark teaches you what the light never could. It teaches you patience. It teaches you grit. It shows you what you really believe. Because when no one is cheering, when no one is watching, when it's just you and the voice in your head telling you to quit and you don't, that's where transformation happens. That's where confidence is born. Not in applause, but in perseverance. You've got to learn to be comfortable being unseen. You've got to find peace in the shadows, knowing that what you're building will one day speak louder than any post, any speech, any headline. You've got to fall in love with the silence, because in the silence you sharpen. In the silence you develop the kind of discipline that doesn't crack under pressure. That silence is where giants are made. That silence is where purpose gets deep roots. So while the world is sleeping on you, you're not sleeping. You're waking up earlier. You're staying later. You're sacrificing more. You're not waiting on permission to grow. You're grinding until the noise comes looking for you. Because when it finally does, when that spotlight swings your way, you won't have to fake it. You'll be ready. Not because of what you did in front of people, but because of what you did in the dark. Because of what you built when it wasn't popular. Because of what you believed when it didn't make sense to believe. Because of what you chose to become when everything around you told you it would be easier to give up.